Hello, welcome to He's Hot, but something is off. Oh man, I've got a list of things I'm gonna go through, uh, and usually, you know, I don't usually write any ideas down for a lot of the episodes of this podcast because usually I have so much stuff I can just talk about. I can usually open my mouth and stuff just like falls out. But you know what a super weird thing happened this week? I was talking to my therapist yesterday or 2 days ago. This comes out on Thursday. I had my therapist session on Tuesday. And we've been making good progress on working on stuff. And I think for the first time in a very long time, maybe in my life, I ran out of things to say in the therapy session. It's an hour-long session, and about like just over halfway through, like 35 minutes into it, I was like, I don't think I have anything more to say. I guess that's like the ultimate sign therapy has helped me slash changed me. I'm using the word help as I'm assuming the therapy is helping as a giant helicopter flies by again. I was recording an episode of the Gay Cruise and Travel podcast. It was like 2 episodes ago. And a helicopter flew right over. I don't think the mic picked it up as I'm using a podcast mic, so it doesn't really pick up any background noise. Sometimes in West Hollywood, they just fly the helicopters real low because there's a suspect that's on foot. Anyways, back to the original point. Yeah, I just ran out of stuff to say. I was just sitting there with my therapist on the video conference call, and I was like, I think maybe I've gotten what I want out of therapy. So yeah, I guess we are gonna wind it down. I'm now afraid when I see him next week, I'm not gonna have anything to say. I've done therapy once before, but it wasn't like it. I don't think it really worked the last time I did it, and that was like a few years ago. It was. I think I didn't click with that first therapist. It wasn't that he was a bad therapist. I think I just wasn't able to connect with him on a deep enough level to really have the therapy be of that much of a benefit to me. Anyways, but I do get along well with this therapist, and I've been able to open up a lot. And yeah, so I think I'm able to, wind down the therapy, which was going into therapy was really weird because I have no idea what I was really expecting. I was really stressed back in January. That's when I started. And I've been kind of sort of thinking about therapy in the back of my head. It's like priority number 72 out of all the things that Joey needs to do. But then I was so stressed coming back from that trip to Asia and Sydney in Australia. And I've been doing BetterHelp since then. So yeah, I'm sure I'll have an update on that once I wind that down. But I don't know how this was started. The way I was going to start this podcast was talking about I've got a list of things written down that I want to talk about today. Therapy was not one of them, but I just had to bring that up because yeah, it's just so rare. All of you listeners of the podcast, all 3 of you know how I just talk and talk and talk. These podcasts, I always aim for it to be 20 to 30 minutes. I always run over. Okay, anyways, I did want to talk about a few things today. And when I was writing down the bullet points, I was thinking this is kind of sort of like a morning news or even evening news type of a thing. When you watch a news program these days, which, by the way, I haven't watched any news program in many, many years, but my recollection of how a typical news program kind of goes, like the evening news, right? They start with the headline news, the big hitting news, and then if they get to the smaller news. And then eventually If it, but not every day there's enough news to fill like 30 minutes or an hour or however long those news programs go for. They'll eventually graduate to talk about quote unquote lifestyle type things like 5 tips to make sure you wash your vegetables properly, or how to tell if your pet has ticks or something like that. It's not news, but it's just fodder. It's just like random stuff to talk about. So I've got kind of sort of that same type of thing. I've got one headline news thing I want to discuss, and then we've got some more minor things to talk about. So when I was writing, I got 3 bullet points. Like, oh, this looks like the flow of like a typical news program on TV. Anyways, the first thing I wanted to talk about, the actual news, an actual current event that's impacting actual people in the world, is the Apple versus Epic lawsuit. So some of you that follow tech news probably know about this already. It's been brewing for, the litigation and the lawsuit has been going on for quite a while. But it does have impact for listeners of this podcast, and it definitely has an impact for people thinking about or already subscribed to my Patreon, which is why I bring it up today. So I've got AI to basically summarize everything. But basically, the dispute is every time you buy something on a Apple device, it goes to the App Store. Like you want to install an app on your iPhone or your iPad, you have to go to the Apple App Store, you find the app, you download it, okay? Sometimes apps are not free. There are some paid apps, and if you're going to download a paid app, the payment is done via Apple systems because you're in Apple's App Store, which Apple controls the App Store, and then the payment goes to Apple, basically. You're not actually going through the payment directly with whoever created the app. Same thing for if you make some sort of purchase within an app on an iPhone or an iPad. Maybe you're playing a game that you've downloaded from the Apple App Store. Then within the game, you can like buy tokens or stickers or whatever kids buy these days in games. I don't play games, so I don't know any of this. But whenever you buy something within an app that you downloaded from the App Store, it also goes through Apple's system. Okay, so all these types of purchases, Apple takes a cut, and they take like a 30% commission. Okay, so if you buy a $10 app, okay, you want to download an app, it's a paid app, not free, it's $10. $3 goes to Apple, $7 goes to the developers of that app. So Epic basically sued Apple and say this is not legal, blah, blah, blah. So the latest ruling is that Apple has been ordered that they cannot enforce, Apple cannot enforce the collection of fees on purchases made outside of apps, and cannot restrict how developers can direct users to external payment options. What that means is previously, Apple would not allow app developers to direct people to pay for anything outside of Apple's system. Okay, take Spotify as an example. Way before, you could pay for a Spotify plan like Spotify Premium from within the Spotify app on an Apple device, like on your iPhone, okay? You could download Spotify, the app itself for free, and then have it installed on your iPhone. Then within the Spotify app, you can then subscribe to Spotify Premium. Since you're doing it from within the app on your Apple device, that would have to go through Apple's payment system. Therefore, Apple would take a 30% cut of whatever the price is, okay? Some developers basically stop offering in-app payments within the app. Like Spotify eventually stopped allowing users to subscribe to and pay for premium from within the Spotify app on Apple devices, therefore preventing Apple from taking the 30% cut. So that's like something developers can choose to do. But what also is happening at the same time with the old Apple rules is that Apple prevents app developers from referring users to bypass Apple's own payment system. So in the Spotify example, Spotify, they were not allowed within their own app to direct users and tell them, hey, you can go to our Spotify website to subscribe for Spotify Premium. Because apparently just advertising a different way to pay for something related to that app or platform, Spotify in this case, goes against Apple's rules. So how it relates to Patreon, because I have a Patreon page people can subscribe to, within the Patreon app, people can subscribe to my Patreon, but it would have to go through Apple's systems, Apple's payment system, and then Apple would take like a 30% cut. In that case, it kind of sort of affects me at the end because like if Apple takes a cut from Patreon, then Patreon, they kind of sort of need to make it up from somewhere. And there's actually a setting for Patreon subscribers to actually set different pricing for people who subscribe via the Apple app and actually have that enabled. So Patreon says to its creators, okay, either you can charge everybody the same amount, but then you would earn less from people who subscribe after Apple takes their cut if they're doing it from the app on an Apple device. Or you can charge more for people who are trying to subscribe via the app on an Apple device. Therefore, your creator earnings are going to be the same no matter what, but then the user pays more. It's like a tariff. It's kind of sort of like a tariff, like someone has to pay more. It's just an extra tax. One of the very first things I did when I launched my Patreon is highlight this extra, I called it the Apple tax. It's a pin post at the top of my Patreon. It still is, and it's always there. And I just wanted to educate people who are going to subscribe to my Patreon that, hey, like, if you can, don't pay for the subscription from within the app if you're using an Apple device. Do it from like the patreon.com website. I had to say that because Patreon, they were not allowed to say it in the Patreon app on behalf of the creators because of Apple's rules. Apple prevents them from advertising a different payment method. That is not Apple's payment method. The latest ruling that just came out like this past week or like a week or two ago, the judge basically says Apple can't prevent developers from advertising other forms of payment, other methods of payment. So now Spotify just released a new version and update of their app that allows Spotify to tell its users, hey, you can sign up for Spotify Premium and pay for it on our website. And they can now say this within the Spotify app, within the iPhone. I saw the update on my iPhone, but I use Spotify. I don't pay for Spotify, but I use Spotify for podcasts, but I just use like the free plan because that's all I needed it for. I use YouTube Music for actual music. And then I just noticed that, I get pop-ups within the app telling me that I can, to basically it's advertising premium, not the premium plan. And it says that, I can go sign up on the website and do all that, blah, blah, blah. So there's a new Patreon mobile app that's being updated that is basically doing the same thing where Patreon can now actually tell its users, hey, if you want to go subscribe to this creator or this page, you can go to the patreon.com website and do it there. And therefore, escape the 30% tax. So that's why you might be seeing a lot of people use Spotify. A lot of you probably use Spotify, the three of you. So that's why you're seeing some of these things. And I just pointed out because, like I said, I run a Patreon page and I do charge a subscription, and I've been personally not super for the 30%. It's like, Apple provides the App Store as a service. I mean, it's debatable where they should be doing it for free. I feel like it doesn't cost them that much on the grand scheme of things. Like I don't think Apple actually needs to charge anything for the App Store, because the amount of return on just the amount of money they make on having people stay within the Apple ecosystem, and the App Store is a very significant part of that. They don't need to be charging a 30% commission, because their return on investment in terms of just having something like the App Store and just not really charging much for it, definitely not 30%. I think it's like already, worth more than their investment into building the App Store. But it's just like the fact that you have this ecosystem concept that, all the big tech companies have it. Apple wants you to use all Apple stuff when you have an iPhone. It's iMessage, it's FaceTime, it's App Store, it's your Apple account. Same for Microsoft, same for Google. Like all the companies are trying to do it, honestly. It's not just like you're using the device, you're using all of their stuff. You're using their ecosystem now. So just by having this ecosystem concept, like I think it's already kind of enough of a return, really. But obviously, these are all for-profit companies. But yeah, so a little bit of I don't think I've ever delivered actual proper hot hitting news before on this podcast. It's not a news podcast, but I bring it up because, yeah, for some of you that might be interested in my Patreon or anyone's Patreon, any creator's Patreon, that's a change that's coming out that I'm glad to see, and it's also affecting other apps as well. Yeah, so I think that's going to be the one time of the year where I deliver actual headline news along with some user consumer advice. So one of my earliest teenage obsessions was skincare. Instead of looking at toys in the kids section at the store, I was looking at moisturizers in the skincare section. As I grew up and navigated my sexuality, I saw that most of the beauty industry was aimed at feminine women, sometimes at masculine men, but everyone else was left out. It wasn't for someone like me. With Surf Labs, I wanted to create a fun skincare experience for everyone. I'm pretty sure your skin doesn't care how mask or femme you are or who you love, but I'm absolutely sure you need to take care of it. Check us out at surflabs.co, SERVELABS.co, and you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at surflabs. All right. Okay, let's get off the news. It feels weird to deliver news. I don't think I'm great at it. Let's just move off the news. The other weird thing that's been happening in my world personally is my condo was listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, which is like the one system that all the real estate agents use for listings. And you put it on the MLS, it kind of sort of goes everywhere, like Redfin, Zillow, to all the actual agencies, etc. And I was talking to my realtor a week ago. We've been keeping in touch, obviously. The place has been listed for a few months now. The market is just not good. The housing market is not good. You know, with all the geopolitical and economical issues, wink, wink, especially here in the US, barf, it's just not a good time to sell a condo because no one really wants to make a big purchase. And a house is pretty much the biggest purchase that most people could imagine buying. So decided to not sell the condo, just pull the listing for right now because it wasn't getting any bites. And I was like, you know what? If it's not getting any bites after we lowered the price for like a whole month, I'd rather just not list it. I'm just going to stay here for a while. I made my peace with it. And I'd rather stay here for a while longer, even if that means like several months or even another year or 2 years or whatever, and sell when the market gets hot again. You know, housing market is cyclical. I don't know when the market will become hot again, but I mean, it's we're at a low right now. I don't know when this low is gonna lift up, but yeah, it's just a horrible time right now. But it's just so much uncertainty. I was like, any other time than now will be better to sell the place. So we pulled the listing. And the funny thing about pulling a listing, because I've never sold a place before, I don't know. This was my first place that I've ever bought. And I've never sold any other place. Apparently, if you pull a listing without selling it, you get tons of calls and text messages from other realtors trying to get your listing. So literally, like within hours of us pulling the listing, the first like random phone call or text message that came in was like 2 or 3 hours after you pulled the listing, after I signed the paperwork to pull the listing. Because I signed it in the afternoon, like 1 or 2 calls tried to come in. I was like, and I never pick up random calls. And it just was like, okay, I got a couple of calls in. I was like, okay, weird. And I didn't answer them. And I think one of them just texted me. I was like, texted my realtor. I was like, okay, I assume this is not related to you, but I just got this like random realtor tried to call me. I didn't answer it. And he's like, oh yeah, when listings get pulled without selling, other realtors try to like come in and get it. The next day, starting from the next morning, from like 8 a.m. in the morning, from like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. the next day, I got like 4 calls. I had to put my phone line, the actual line itself, the phone number itself, I had to put on Do Not Disturb. It's still on Do Not Disturb. That way, like none of the calls make, like my phone doesn't ring. Because that first full day afterwards, like I must have gotten like 15 calls. I've never gotten so many calls in my life. Who uses phones anymore? Like who calls it? I don't remember the phone number for anyone. Like no one calls anyone else, honestly. Everything for me, it's like, oh, it's WhatsApp, it's Instagram, it's some sort of app. It's not like an actual phone number. Like I feel like phone numbers are kind of old fashioned. You know, people sometimes try to trade numbers with. I guess with iMessage, people would still swap numbers because iMessage is you can do numbers or you can do an email. But like, I don't use iMessage. I've never used iMessage, even though I have an iPhone. I intentionally I don't want to be locked into that ecosystem. Yeah, but never gotten so many phone calls before. My phone was crazy for like a couple of days. I would like they got a hold of like not just one of my phone numbers. They got a hold of like 2 of my phone numbers. I've got like a few different phone numbers for like a few different things. And they got a hold of 2 of my emails somehow. So they're really good at like scouring publicly available information / the dark web at like, oh, this person, oh, what phone numbers are associated with that? I'm gonna call them all. It was horrible. They didn't just call once; they call you multiple times. A lot of the numbers that popped up, they'll call twice, and then some of them they'll text you as well. It's like it's ferocious. I've never had that happen to me before. My phone is still on D&D. Like, no, I never pick up calls usually. I don't recognize any phone numbers, honestly. The only time, it's like a once-in-a-year event that someone calls me out of the blue that I'm not expecting them to call, and it's someone I actually want to talk to. Like, I've got a couple of friends that might call me like an actual regular phone call, not on like, not calling me from like a messaging app or from Instagram or whatever. It's only like once or twice a year that might happen. But then their number is actually in my phone book, and then they come up on the caller ID. 99% of calls I get don't come up in my caller ID, and I never answer them because it's almost always spam. I don't usually get a lot of calls. It's rare for my phone to go off. The only other time my phone goes off from a phone call is if it's like the intercom from the front of my building. But that's in my caller ID too. So like it pops up. So yeah, oh my God, I was getting so many calls. It was so annoying. And not just phone calls, I'm getting mailers too. You know, when you list the house, again, it's on the MOS, it's in like, it's for the public to see. Anyone can see the listing. So they can also detect when your listing comes off. I've gotten extra spam mail from realtors and agencies just like in the area. Like I don't read any of them, but I noticed that, you know, when you go check your stale mail, you can kind of see who it comes from. I don't open that stuff. It's all junk to me, but it's like it's from a bunch of like real estate agencies. So yeah, I've never gotten so many phone calls, and I don't think I'll ever get that many phone calls ever again. It's just so weird. Anyways, the last little thing I wanted to talk about, I'm loving how organized this is. You know, I just sat down at my computer, but it's one of the things I talk about with my realtor. By the way, this is a tangent, but we're gonna go with it. One of the things I realized that's contributing to my laziness and procrastination with work stuff is there's so much work stuff going on that I have to do, but none of it is organized. So it's just like this haze of like, I know behind that haze, it's like a bunch of stuff to do. And my mind subconsciously kind of sort of just like tunes out. It's like I'm being overwhelmed without really knowing I'm being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work that I don't even know how big the amount is. I just know that it's just not a light amount of work. It's not like a simple task A, B, and C to check off. But I'm so unorganized about it that I don't even know behind the haze how much work I have to do. So part of tackling that feeling of being overwhelmed and therefore leading to the procrastination is just getting a lot more organized about, okay, what are like the actual tasks I need to do, and actually writing them down. So I actually just spent this afternoon like trying to set up a system of like, okay, visualizing the actual tasks I have to do for all the different businesses and actually have them all in one place in like a really nice visual format. That way, even if it's multiple things I need to do, at least I can see them all in one place and I can organize them and actually make a decision. Okay, today I'm going to do 3 of these things, and then we'll just drag them over here, and then we'll do these 3 things. At least it feels manageable. So I was doing that. I have no idea how I took this random tangent. But anyways, most of you probably have a facial cleanser and moisturizer already. So I want to tell you about Shield and Slay DP, which is an anti-pollution hydration spray I formulated specifically for my skincare line, Serve Labs. This is actually a product I've been looking for years now and haven't been able to find on the market, which is something that was a hydration spray but also has anti-pollution, antioxidant properties for your skin. Shield and Slay DP is the ultimate double protection defense for your skin, teaming up antioxidants, probiotics, along with hydrating ingredients to fend off environmental stressors and aggressors. You can use it as part of your daily skincare routine, but I've also designed it so you can use it while you're out and about, on an airplane, or whenever your skin feels dry, dull, or a bit worse for wear. All you have to do is spray it on. Check out Shield and Slay DP along with the rest of the Serve Labs skincare lineup at servelabs.co, servelabs.co, and you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at servelabs. The last thing I wanted to talk about, I was walking to the Trader Joe's, as I do a lot of the times after I go to the gym. Right as I actually took a photo of this, I guess I'll post it on something later. But right when you walk in the middle of like the entryway, there's a giant chalkboard sign. A lot of shops, they've got like a fold out sign that they put on the sidewalk, and it's just like this giant chalkboard that they put whatever, like, oh, today is cupcake specials or whatever it is. So Trader Joe's has one of those, and I'm gonna bring up the photo so I can read you verbatim exactly what it said on the sign, because I saw it and I was like, thank fucking God. It says, I'm looking at the photo. It's a blackboard, so it's black, and then bright neon yellow, bold, large, bright neon yellow print, all caps. Surface animals welcome, pets not allowed. And the knot has 2 hyphens on either side of it. It's like, to highlight it's not allowed. One of the things I don't understand, there's a lot of things I don't understand about this world that is like, I have no idea why people do this. This is one of those things where I can actually kind of understand bringing your pet, who's not a service animal, into a place where they sell food, into like a grocery store or supermarket. I kind of understand, because when I dog sit for my friends here, and I just need to go to the grocery store, sometimes I wish like, it would be kind of nice to be able to like bring the dog with me to like just because that way the dog gets out, it's kind of sort of like a walk for the dog. You're walking the dog that way. But on the flip side of it, in a grocery store, they have shelves of stuff, and the shelves, they start from like the floor going on up. Dogs are gonna like sniff and lick and paw at shit. And I don't think dogs should be in that environment where they can like be licking at something or pawing something or like whatever, because like there are foodstuffs that are like on the bottom shelf of stuff, right? I don't know if there are any actual bylaws or anything of that nature. At least here in Hollywood, I've never looked into it, but like that, yeah, I generally understand not having pets in a store. Like a service animal goes through a lot of training. A service animal is not and a service animal is there to serve like a very important purpose, for the humans that they're assisting. A service animal is very different, but like a random pet that is not a service animal is like, I don't know. Like I was literally like a few days ago, they're outside the Trader Joe's. So they were going into the Trader Joe's, or they were about to come out the Trader Joe's. just some random person with a dog. And then there's like these two women that don't know this person, this pet owner, walking the other way. And like, I guess these two women, like, they like dogs. So like they stop to like pet the dog or something. And a dog was trying to just jump up on them. A dog that's not trained, like professionally trained as a service animal, like when you take them into a store, you don't know what they're gonna do. Are they gonna poop? Are they gonna pee? Are they gonna be like trying to jump up on some fruits and vegetables? Like, you don't know, honestly. So yeah, I don't like it when I see pets in anywhere that has food, that is like serving food, selling food. And a lot of at least here in LA, a lot of pet owners, that when I do see them in like a grocery store, they are absolutely not paying attention to what the pet is doing whatsoever. They're on, like, half the time they're on the phone. So people think, who is talking on the phone all day long? Like, are you so bored when you're shopping for groceries that you have to be on the phone the entire time? Like, buy a fucking Bluetooth headset. They'll be like on the phone, not looking where they're going, definitely not paying any attention or noticing anything that their dog is doing. And then they're like, grocery shopping. So it's kind of sort of, it hits one of my buttons, as you can clearly tell by now. I just don't, it's already bad enough that people that are on phones that are not looking where they're walking. I've talked about this wefore. Like, who are you talking to? That is so important. They're never talking about anything important. I can tell you right now. But I can hear them talk because they're talking out loud on the phone. It's like, oh, Jennifer, oh, she's just such a whatever. It's I'm not the kind of person to like talk on the phone. I don't talk on the phone. If I want to actually talk to a friend, like talk to a friend, I tend not to be like grocery shopping while I do that, because if I'm talking to a friend, it's probably about something that's not super casual. We're not just be like, oh, hey, what's going on? But I don't talk on the phone for that. I'll message them and be like, and hey, what's going on? Me and my friends, we're too busy to just randomly have a phone conversation in the middle of the day for no reason. We're not so bored with like grocery shopping or just like walking from A to B that like we have to be on the phone and talking to someone and be distracted, like running into people on the sidewalk, not stopping at stop signs, not caring what our dog is jumping up and down on while we're buying milk. We're not that kind of people. Gross. So I just don't understand. If I need to talk to a friend about something on the phone, it's probably something where I need to pay some amount of attention. And if a friend calls me when I'm out and about, I'm probably like stopping what I'm doing to like actually pay attention to that phone call, because it's probably something kind of important. It's not just like, hey, what's going on? I'm calling you because I'm bored of my own life. How bored are you of your life? Anyways, let's end the podcast there, because as I've been working on with my therapist, replace those negative thoughts with more positive thoughts. So we'll leave it there. By the way, I do have a Patreon that is open for subscriptions, and now that Patreon has updated their app, you don't have to pay that Apple tax. So there you go. There are bonus episodes of this podcast. It's called Uncut, and it comes out every week for my Patreon subscribers. And I also post vlogs over there. So the vlogs, can you hear that chime in the back? I don't think the microphones picked that up, but I'm right by my kitchen, and I have the rice cooker on, because the rice sometimes takes a while. The rice finished way too fast today, so maybe the rice cooker I didn't push the right buttons. Anyways, the rice cooker makes this loud, obnoxious chime when it's done cooking. I've got travel vlogs on my Patreon as well. The travel vlogs that are coming out right now is from a road trip that I did to Vegas back in March. The first part just went up. So a lot of fun content, and I do a lot of like little posts on there as well, and I love interacting with my subscribers. I use Patreon like how normal people might use Twitter. Twitter, the way, I mean, people still do that. They just post like random little short updates and photos of things like that. I've never gone into tweeting, though. When I looked at, the only time I tried to use Twitter as it was intended to do little short updates was back in like 2016, 2017, 2018. And it's like, I kind of sort of did it, but I never got into it. For some reason, like posting on Patreon is like, I'm a lot more engaged with Patreon, because I guess it's not just getting random comments from random people on the internet, but it's just like actual subscribers that want to see my content and they have thoughtful comments on it and they interact with the stuff I actually post. Yeah, so I post a lot of stuff there. So feel free to go check that out. And also the links to everything else that I do, including my new YouTube videos. There'll be more new YouTube videos coming out, by the way. Everything is linked down below. But until next time. Bye, y'all.